the idea we've maintained contact with you. That's very, very good because we get people in the way.
Yeah.
So let's just do a quick introduction and then we will get back to you. So just stay right put, sir.
Oh.
Please.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as I've been saying, of course, this is not the excitement time because we've been able to maintain contact with lawyer Bakarr, Sidique, Kalokoh. We don't maintain contact with them, finally don't accept in call. Of course, not busy man, so we'll be able to understand, say, maybe you get one important call or one important client where you talk to, but we're lucky we get them online. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you just joining the channel now, we get an interview which about to kick off in the next minute or two. We will be speaking to a gentleman, but he's no ordinary, he's a stakeholder in the political business alone. He's lawyer Bakarr Sidique Kalokoh. He's a barrister at law. He's a senior member of the Sierra Leone Bar Association and a senior member of the All People's Congress. Okay, so we'll talk to him and begin the questioning in a minute or two. I mean, just want to let one know. If anybody know they get the communication right, please make a note by a thumbs down or a thumbs up if you get the communication right. So since nobody don't make any comments at this particular point in time, I will take and say that everything is fine. Lawyer Bakarr Sidique Kalokoh, welcome to the program then and now, sir.
Thank you for having me, Prince. Thank you.
You're most welcome. We will just go straight to the point because we are a couple of minutes, you're kind of late. And here we are. You have been one of the 28 candidates who stand for the party flag bearership just a few months ago. Do you feel disappointed with the system or the process which APC been used for employ for select or elect, whichever way you want to categorize them of them candidates in the? In other words, for put and straightforward, sir, do you feel bitter towards the ex-president who seemed to have stage managed that entire process?
No, well, I disappointed with the process. I thought the process should have been a lot more transparent than it is. But as far as being bitter against the ex-president, no, I'm not getting any bitterness. I realize humans do make mistakes, and at the one way down the way, every month I man will grow. I think this is an opportunity for their new parties and grow. So I'm not bitter at all.
All right. In terms of governance, are you encouraged in any shape or form as to the direction the new boys in town? When I say the new boys, of course, it's a jargon. I'm talking about the Sierra Leone People's Party, the new government in town led by one-time Brigadier Julius Malabio. Are you in any shape or form encouraged by the direction in which this party is heading?
The answer is yes and no.
All right.
I am encouraged by the fact that there is a smooth transition, a smooth change of government or leadership in the country. That's a good thing for our democracy. And I applaud the ex-president for making it happen in a smooth way, personal way. And also happy the direction where the new president and the government will go. Then they try to look into issues where make it difficult for them the economy to develop at the pace where everybody would expect. And of course, the fight against corruption is a big one. Every country we get that kind of problem, and a major problem, need to address the issue. So in that respect, I am encouraged by the development of the new government state. A few things that they were thinking the new government seems to be doing very well with so far so good. In that aspect, I think there is room for improvement. I'm not going to be so quick for being judgmental on them yet. I expect things to improve for the better. I think governance, especially considering real history in our own country, anybody who takes the leadership of the country gets to be a unifier. And in that respect, I not see the new government they move to that direction. And as a matter of fact, I see them shying away from unifying the country. No matter how much effort we make to fight for the development, if there is no unity or cohesion, we are gradually finding the place for war or civil strife again. And once civil strife then at the country, no amount of effort where a president or a team will make it succeed. It looks like the new government they make sufficient effort for sustain the peace and unify the country. So in that respect, I think they're deficient that idea. But I would just name the one and for now as a big thing. As we go along, we'll talk about more details.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. And on that basis, then you know that your voice is not a small voice. When you because recently you make one or two postings out there. The point I'm trying to make is your voice is a very powerful voice. It's not just like any other ordinary voice. Post-elections violence continues to be unabated, with reports emanating from the country claiming that most victims are either supporters or members of your party, that's the All People's Congress, APC. And in particular, those that are resident in the south and southeast of the country, where the present government, draw its strength from. And you find out that, of course, these people will be at the most vulnerable position if they find themselves in that kind of position indeed. So therefore, they have been victimized according to reports coming from this country, this part of the country. Are you aware of any such report? And if you are, from a legal perspective, sir, what would be your advice?
I am aware of all the reports and the way they talk about the political reprisals and the revenge against people that will belong to the APC, especially the ones that will live in the southeast of the country. It is unfortunate that it happened. I'm not being expecting the new leadership to tolerate something like that. And they still call on the government president and the government to look into their issues, and then, because really those are human rights atrocities and abuses. At this point in time, now he's the president now, and I don't be in government. So that we don't point the finger at anybody. This is time for them to show leadership and make sure that I think they know how. From a legal perspective, I think that we don't mention in the past to say the Constitution actually prescribes violating other people's fundamental rights. So we would expect the president to let he look into their complaints that they report that to. Luckily now we get a new technology. Some of them reports that are not difficult to see because pictures that they, videos that they, audio that they, all over the place see it happening. If I investigate their issues also and bring the perpetrators to court and prove them accountable legally. We want them to commit crimes, therefore charge them to court for, bringing about violence to the public citizens for no reason other than the fact that they belong to this political party and they belong to something that they will then more less. I think the president's responsibility for making protect every union, not just the one that will belong to your political party. After all, now he's the father of the nation, not the father of SNP. So he can be protective of every union, no matter the political view of that person they hold. So my opinion, they are here for that.
So I pick up on the last point, sir, that the president will be a president of all Sierra Leone, which of course he commits himself to during the inaugural speech and other speeches subsequently. But just now, where you addressed the last question I asked you, you said that not to be your expectation that this government will tolerate things like that when we talk about violence. So, sir, I ask you, do you think that this SLTP government has tolerated violence to some degree?
Yes. The reason I make a decision, there are two ways somebody can do something. We know that they say you do either by commission or omission, which means when you commit the act, you go physically, you successful. But then there are times when you become complicit on something, you don't see it wrong, and you see the person who is supposed to do it. And then you omit for talk. Deliberately. So in that respect, me think most of the atrocities who they happen, the president are aware of them because some of we don't speak up, we don't bring them to your attention. People they don't write letters, they don't try to reach out to us, or because some of them complain their too. For some reason, it becomes really silent about their atrocities. They have to wait to better than they commit, and in nothing that is supposed to be committed. And the fact is,
sorry, we can't connect you at the moment because you've just gone over your credit limit. The good news is, it's easy to get back up and running. Simply call us on 0843 373 7333. Please remember to have your credit or debit card available. Thanks for your patience. Sorry, we can't connect you at the moment.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think there's been an interference there. I really don't understand. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. There's been an interference there. I don't really know why that has happened. But again, we'll try to maintain contact. The interview just to get very much interesting. Okay? Yeah. All right. No worries, Lawyer Kalokoh. I'll call you right back, sir. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes, my apologies. I don't really know what happened, but modern technology, of course, we lost you briefly and people are kind of confused. But luckily, you are back.
Yeah, I can call you directly.
Yeah, no, that's all right, sir. Maybe we can continue on this. That's fine.
Okay. So like I say, I hold the president accountable by reason of the omission. I don't have any evidence for suggesting himself participates in perpetrating violence on anybody or any of the people the way they like direct circle. But the point is, these are people who actually take action. When they want to take action for corruption or ACC, they take action. But when it comes to political violence, reprisals, and revenge, we in supporters and they take against supporters of other political parties, they ask for any kind of investigation or prosecution. He's silent. And to me, that makes him complicit. That means he himself is the best at the violence.
So if I can ask for one word in terms of the few questions where you don't have time for answer so far, there's been a lack of leadership or showmanship of leadership. Would that be yes or no, sir?
Yes, and that's exactly the word that's why I mean, just want to say leadership. Not leadership we need.
Okay. Some people have referred to the president's declaration of his asset. Okay. Just before I go into that, in fact, the Anti-Corruption Commission, because recently I listened to you very, very carefully. You came out with a scathing attack. At some point in this interview, I'm going to dwell into that, yes, seriously, deeply. But on top of it, the Anti-Corruption Commission, and it said, we all know it's a critical component of government. Do you think the dismissal of the then head was constitutional?
I deliberately, I don't stay away from that conversation day. But suffice it to say, though, that it lies within the president in executive discretion for appointing anybody where you want to appoint now any position. That much I go give. There's a way, if you want to remove the previous Anti-Corruption Commission, and I make the statute books and put out clearly how you will remove them, for then you appoint the person where you appoint. I don't think by following the regulations where we exist at the time within the Anti-Corruption Act, it can stop the president for then not appoint Mr. Bakarr. Mr. Bakarr a good young man, as far as I know from the little interaction where I know. At the same time, though, for them we strengthen with democracy, and they encourage the president in every move we want for it, always look at the statute books so that you don't trample on anybody, right? If you have to remove Mr. Ademapoli, it's not a bad idea for them to follow the rules. I understand there's one thing about this government where the bottom is small as they go along. The fact that they like to summarize things we're not supposed to be summarized. So removing the Anti-Corruption Commissioner because you don't want to go through all the rules and rigmaroles where the statute puts in as so you can use for Ulam, in itself not a good thing. So that's all I can say about that day. But as far as appointing, I give that to Rami, appoint anybody where he wants. But I'm not happy to say he tried to avoid or circumvent the rules.
I will press you on a little bit on that, sir, because what out there largely speaks of the president declaration of his asset just days after replacing the SAC commissioner with his hand-picked successor was a secret program. Do you in any way see any correlations with the SAC commissioner and the secret, and that is quote-unquote declaration of the president's asset to his anointed successor?
There could well be a correlation, although I not see the correlation. If there is, well, it's probably far-fetched. I think the comment I will make about the declaration of assets is, I think the president, when he declares his assets, again will be public, because listen, with the type of corruption so one of the big problems about corruption is secrecy. When the president takes office, now you decide say you are in the office of the presidency, so your life will be an open book. If you are declaring your assets, we as citizens, we are the bosses, you are not the boss. We'll forbid what you get before you take office, so that down the road, nobody will cook the books tomorrow and say, no, when the president will declare assets, now this has been declared, then it turned out say, not to that to be declared because of the secret document. So now one of the reasons I don't make I want to know what did the president declare. I think it is in the interest of the public and the country for us to know what did they do. So tomorrow we the citizens, we serve we are people the way get sense. Tomorrow when the president left, we will make comparison to what he declared the way he take the presidency and what he get the way he left.
Hence, we make the process itself questionable, if you agree, sir. Because if you what may exist, you in terms of the commissioner, then of course now it will belong to another party, or another party will be elect that person there, but then you fire that person there, and within the prescribed period of time when you're supposed to declare your asset, you fire the person and put somebody there, and then you declare your asset when between you and your anointed person. There are many questions, where supposedly there are few answers.
I do agree. And one of the questions that I will need to raise. Listen, we all as Sierra Leoneans, and I hope people that will belong to the SLPP also will agree with me that side, because if we all serious about corruption, charity begins at home. We all for speak up and tell the president the truth, or say, hey, listen, you say you defend the corruption, but this high business secrets, where you appoint somebody, or now you and the person no more know what you they talk about your assets and all that kind of thing. That's not acceptable. If that's the reason that will make you appoint, and then really that's a bad reason for appointing him. I am not going to make that allegation. It's really, I'm not getting any evidence or proof say he appointed for that reason. Suffice it to say though that what can happen after you appoint the man, and the way we declare assets not to be correct with that, and that is not transparent. That worries me.
All right, sir. Of course, we need to make progress, and I want to take you, of course, not far away from the subject matter, which is the SLPP government stands accused of many constitutional violations. And again, I talk about your skating attack recently, where we not even begin on that yet, but we just begin to see the beginnings of that skating attack where you make. So the stand of many constitutional violations. Prominent among them in the earlier stages of the government is the restriction of people's movements. And sometimes, I know you talked about the Magna Carta at some point, and we rules-based system, how it attached to the English common law going back to many centuries ago. And sometimes, the forced labor where the SLPP government used, especially so when it comes to cleaning exercise. Are you of the same view, sir, that the reference made in Article 18 and 19 subsections, one of the constitutions, were violated?
Yes, I still hold on to that view. I could tell you why. Listen, me and the one person we place a lot of premium on human rights and the right to let people to move freely and not force anybody for performing or for perform. That is simply it is not only wrong, unconscionable, and it is inhuman. This is the 21st century now. What baffles me is do we really need to declare cleaning Saturday to clean the cities? And most people, when I talk about the violations for movement of people and forced labor, I read most people that talk say me they are against Saturday cleaning. No, I am not. I am not against Saturday cleaning. The question what they ask is this though: A government need for declare Saturday clean for clean the city. I mean, how come we live in America now? No, at no point in time, somebody no president no get the power, but you don't na your office, the White House, they declare say today the clean is Saturday, every American can come on and clean. But how come their cities are clean? So listen, you just need to know how to govern a country, then you know what you need to do to clean your cities. You don't need to force citizens to clean your cities. That's what I am against. A government was serious, you put a plan together to clean your cities, you buy the trucks, you buy recycling equipment, you fend the land inside the dump the thing before you clean your city. You know they force citizens to go clean the city when we elect to let you run the country. Right? You know, you want later on to be president, at the same time you want force me for not help you for let you run the country. I just think that's wrong. So I still hold on to that opinion.
So therefore the president is clearly in violation of his constitutional duty and towards the citizens of the republic. Yes,
I do agree. Let me try to give municipalities or municipal councils, the city councils all over the country, let it give them the responsibility for let them clean their city. And I make we elect another job that your job as president is to facilitate, to make sure it happens, it supervise, it provide the resources so this exercise will happen and it not to affect any citizen a right to move or talk or walk. Nothing working happens seamlessly. Citizens are not going to even notice. But you can't stop a whole country on a whole day. Everybody sit down because you want to clean the city. I mean, that's a violation. Nobody, no civilized country does that anymore.
Section 53, subsection 1 of the Constitution says the use of executive order is a necessary requirement for extreme situations. If the national constitution, acts of parliament, and regulations are all available and there is no threat to our democracy, I speak within the context of Section 53, sir. There are no threats to our democracy as implied by this particular section, which is 53 of the Constitution, subsection 1. Why do you think this president has resorted to the use of executive orders, if I can add to that, rampantly?
Well, I can only attempt to answer from what Tim feel. I think he believes that governing by issuing orders and decrees is the easiest and fastest way for let me accomplish waiting in thinking in mind. Well, you know, listen, true governance doesn't work that way. First of all, governance is always by consensus. You get to be reasonable. You get to also consider other people, their interests. That's so the thing time. There is nothing in governance way for always happening with lightning speed. You know what happens with lightning speed. So I guess that make the president, even when there is no emergency, he tries to create an emergency so he can issue an order. That is not how to govern. I mean, if you govern a country by just issuing orders and decrees and this and this and this and this and that, you know, pretty soon it becomes a police state. And you know, now make a constitution now. You know, how can we have a police state when we are now a constitutional democracy? I don't think it's necessary.
So are there any mechanisms or way of mounting a legal challenge to these orders, sir? Those of us that don't agree, the way you've categorized it, you know, yeah, that there has to be freedom and people need to understand and enjoy those freedoms. It's not by force. It's not a military junta, if you like. Are there ways for people to challenge these kind of orders?
Listen, the Constitution, every citizen the power, when they violate your human rights, you have a right to go to the Supreme Court and challenge it. You know, it's in every democracy now, so it works. So everybody, we all get rights for no challenge. If the president exceeds the authority, you, number one, as I always do, we let him, we support him, now we president. But when he exceeds the authority and we think, say, he wants to begin the assume powers where he not get, it is our job to remind him, number one. Number two, you know, when many citizens can take this up to the Supreme Court and challenge the authority. And luckily now, in fact, to get beyond that one day, people, as far as human rights concerned, people can go as far as the ECOWAS court and challenge them. So I think that the safety nets and mechanisms, and whether or not citizens they get or get the guts or take down the office, another issue.
Thank you. Just a few months ago, when the Sierra Leone People's Party, of course, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you in the chat room and those of you who are going to listen to this later, we are speaking to lawyer Bakarr Sidique Kalokoh. He is a senior member of the one-time government of the All People's Congress, never really participated, I believe, directly, so I stand to be corrected, but he's still a senior member of that party, which is now effectively in opposition. He is a barrister at law, and he's a member, a senior member, not only a member, a senior member of the legal bar. And most of the questions that we are asking, of course, is pertaining to legal issues, and well, most of the other people are see this or are in cahoots or in bed or support or are members of the ruling government because they are the members of the ruling government or are the party in governance. So we seem to be questioning most of their actions. And today we've got Lawyer Kalokoh here. Lawyer Kalokoh, some time ago, lest we forget, these processes tend to come back to haunt us. The APC has got a majority in parliament. Some time ago, when parliament was declared open, 68 members of that parliament were expelled from the parliament. Expelled in the sense, no eternity, if you like, but temporarily they were expelled. Now, the minority that were left in that parliament managed to elect the speaker of the parliament. Sir, with all of your experience and your know-how, how can you explain this process? What really went wrong, and how can this be averted in the future? And what is the future consequence for such a thing that happened in the parliament?
I think, you know, it's very unfortunate that it happened that way in the parliament that assembly. You know, it's very unusual. This is one of the very, very, very few and extreme cases where I see a minority parliament gets to elect a speaker. It doesn't get to happen very often these days. In the old days, where politics are just a brutal, you know, anything can pass game here, it don't happen. So it's unfortunate. I think what we as politicians need to do is not to reduce incidents of political gamesmanship, especially when we try to push them to the extreme. So the point that we're willing to sacrifice decency and rules just so we able to get to agenda. I did not think that was right. You know, really, it just not look good no more. The ruling government, because not to then get the majority, they go inside, pull people there by force, or they try to file cases that Supreme Court when they say they were just dummy cases where they file only because they want to remove them people and they say they're not going to vote, so they will elect as a speaker. I mean, number one, that's disingenuous. Number two, it is actually inappropriate for any government try to trick our citizens into doing a thing like that. You play games on the people so that you go put your policy where you want to make a speaker. It's not done anymore. I mean, in the interest of democracy, one thing where every citizen gets to learn is any time where you don't win, you should be able to accept the fact that you win. This like meaning the effect of this government. If you not get the majority, if you're able to accept the fact say not you get the majority, now APC get the majority. If you've been turned the other way around, I would have said the same thing to the APC, as I do every so often. When they are wrong and they cross the line, I tell them. But in this particular case, it's very unfortunate and it's wrong. So therefore, you know, without hesitation, I condemn that.
With actions of this kind, which you've just described as disingenuous, inappropriate, outright wrong, what will this government do, whether in good faith, that will not be questionable?
Well, we have a lot more time left for letting govern the country. And they always pray for, say, let reason prevail over emotion. And we will continue to pray for the president and the leadership for let them realize, say, this is now a democracy. There is no way any government can rule Sierra Leone now without consensus. So they urge the president and the new government to realize, say, by himself, you know, we're able to govern the country the way he wants. You know, there has to be checks and balances. there is nothing he can do about that. Now, so no more the system set up, and you know that's a recipe that one day for then we also even for question what he do, so that in the best interest of we all, we could work as a team, we could work as a country, we could work as a family for let the country go before. But for things say it will go and only the way we in want inside parliament, you not get the majority there, but he get for force away because that's so in want, and that one day you not get for be good for the country.
Yeah, but Lawyer Kalokoh, so what is the answer? It's not going to be good for the country. It sounds very ominous, but then it continue for do so, because when we talked earlier on at this interview about in proclamation the way they make, in rule by edicts, in rule by decree, this is what it amounts to, and that's not going to stop. So yes, it's not going to be good for the country, but why wait until it is no longer good? What can be done now, or if there are things that can be done now, what can be done to avert this?
I encourage every Sierra Leonean for speak up in a respectful way, because also now we leader, so now the president of the country will get to be respectful. At the same time, you know, the country not belong to us; it belongs to we all. Keeping quiet when you do say something wrong, that also is unconscionable. I don't know how some Sierra Leoneans and they go sleep. Then they see wrong things, they know they talk them. Nobody, you know, they ask for them disrespect the president. But when the president wrong, ask me to do what I want him, you know, say something. Let me try for correct them side and go wrong. Sometimes, you know, it can be said that they violate certain things, maybe because they don't know. Right? So it is our duty as citizens for them to stand up in a non-violent way, in a non-threatening way, and tell his government that you're wrong and we know what to tolerate this. Beyond that one day, the can we talk this no more. I think we'll get to reach a point where citizens need to stand up and challenge some of these things in the courts. Because actually, in the civilized way that one day, for there in a democracy, when the president begins to exceed the authority for letting the challenge along with the stop him, and the third thing we want to ask is parliamentarians. Now that makes we elect to that. It is also your job, even if you belong to the SLPP. When you see the president exceed the authority, if they go too far, it is your job or your duty as a Sierra Leonean, a good citizen, to remind the president when a leader of your party for tell us if you don't exceed the authority. If you have a set of the commission of inquiry, you don't begin to pass certain rules when you don't get the power for pass. I expect the SLPP government for hold that to task. If not, would they call on members of parliament, Dr. Yumkela, other people, the way the APC government stand up and say something. It is your job for them to correct the president when he begin for exceed the authority. And also the courts, the Chief Justice, the judicial system forget the nerve for stand up and protect the democracy. This is also good for President Madabio. If this democracy endure, it will endure to the benefit of the president and the Pekin and in Grand Pekin, we will come after.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Former government officials, they feel victimized under the SLPP. Arbitrary sackings, which amount to economic and social deprivation, undue postings, you know, the way government they shuffle, just take somebody now unduly and just post on somewhere else, just like that. Everything amounting to arbitrary, which come down to psychological and emotional distress, and sometimes intimidations, both in a physical and a psychological sense. We don't see boku physical abuse, where it's been documented now as we speak. These are all factors which are creating a state of instability and insecurity in the countryside, if you like. Therefore, situations of this nature has got a direct impact on the economy. Another key investor any confidence for come and invest. So therefore, it continue for impact on an economy where already they struggle. These actions are directly, you know, tantamount to social disorder, and people can continue for the grumble. Do you think, sir, that this government can take anything off the leaf of the APC? I know it's difficult, but do you think they can take anything off the leaf of the APC manual, which could help for alleviate the present economic condition?
I do. First of all, make a give to the president and his team for say when it's not unusual for say, you know, when new governments usually come and they pick their own team. So in that regard, I get to give the president and in government for say they get the right to let them pick people the way they want to let them be part of the government. They should not be bound for continue with political appointments where ex-President Nkrumah be make. At the same time, I also go say, in the process of doing so, I go urge the president and his team for proceed with caution and restraint, because there's a method to the madness. You know, for bring about unity and one word now in country, even in jobs and posting, he did a big time. So now President Nkrumah, in his wisdom, when he been in governance, some people they go within we party say, oh, some people they will be belong, will not be SLP sympathizer, you left them at the top. But listen, they are scenarios too. If you just kind of know and then you pretend like them people there, so you know they belong to SLP, therefore you get to fire them at their jobs. Listen, you know, they have their families, oh, and their families are they related to everybody else. So they get the right for her to leave it. Now the same thing I will say to President Bio and the government for say, I mean, please don't just start somebody because he belongs to APC or he belongs to NGC. That's a wrong reason for remove anybody in any job. They serve their families. And some of them families, they some of them, you know, when you trace they will come close to you in with the president. So now sample. Now small. But just kind of when you look somebody, you fire out from the job because he belongs to APC. That's a wrong reason for letting you fire anyway. And also in the civil service, which I talked just now about reprisals, it comes to the same thing. Reprisals can happen in different ways. Some people they go attack somebody physically, not you would have. But in the job context, if you use politics for then you pull somebody from being permanent secretary, and then you send and go some side where you don't say now unbearable environment because you want punish her because you feel say na APC sympathizer. Actually, that is wrong. That is unconscionable. You are not being a good citizen, and they set the environment, you make the environment right for civil discontent, and that's not good for the future of our country.
Absolutely, sir. That's amounts to psychological and emotional distress. I do tend to look at it as such. Let me see if I can draw you into this. The leadership under Dr. Samora Kamara of the All People's Congress is on public record for declaring that the elections was rigged. We know it's some time ago, but some things then when we left undone can come back for hunt with. But the party leadership tend to believe that. And even the recent document from the assessment where the party hierarchy then do, believes the election because they come out, you know, here with a position statement, believing that it was rigged. What's your take, sir? What do you take on this? What's your belief?
You know, the brother Dr. Kamara, a good man. But these are one of the things where it's difficult for me to comment on. Unfortunately, me not to be executive member of the party, so I'm not privy to some of the evidence with it. Yes, I don't read the allegation, but as lawyer, I've been a person with the react only to evidence so I get. So I don't see the evidence of reading. So it's difficult for me for support that one day, considering the election. What you know, I could say to the APC people there is that, listen, we don't lost the election. Even if we think some rigging take place, now the loss we are in with president, we'll get for give them a chance to govern the country. And to the extent possible, we'll get for also give the support. I mean, we can criticize them when it comes down to it. My only advice is, you know, don't criticize President Bio out of bad or vengeance or wrong. Yeah. You know, criticize them constructively, and then we all help him for let's succeed. Because like I don't say in the past, listen, if he succeeds, I don't succeed, and I want him to succeed. Absolutely. And then we don't pray say he failed. Because I mean, if you pray for let it fail, when it fail, you want to be fail. So one day we said APC puts this behind me, and then we organize research so we could be a more potent opposition force in the country. I think that my India we best interest other than continuing to rehash this issue of rigged election or no rigged election. I don't think it will do anything.
Okay, yeah, that's a really brilliant point, and it sounds very much like the country need for come together, the need for big cohesiveness, and of course, you are not in power, the government that is in power need for preach that. But not too long ago, your party was in power, but everything seemed to have turned upside down, okay, on the party. And even now, not only upside down, they stand accused of serious charges or crimes. I don't know how to call them. You, a lawyer, and you will know best how to address that in terms of being accused of corruption. The former president, I not believe he is exonerated from these charges the way the ruling party 10-for-1 bring against former officials of the APC government. If you were advising the president, the ex-president, Dr. Ernest Bakarr, what would you be telling him?
You know, first of all, I go advise him to be a statesman. Secondly, I go advise him for he put in country ahead of self, as he always do, and or do whatever he able to do for help the new government for let it succeed. As far as the Boku allegations and which is a way CD, the new government they bring come, well, I will leave it at that for now as mere allegations. Luckily, we get, you know, I assume a different legal system. Nobody not supposed to be found guilty of anything unless they really try and they get every opportunity for them to defend themselves. So we APC compatriots, they say anybody when they make allegation against, to the extent possible, do your best to defend yourself and prove say you not do anything wrong. It is what it is. We may talk say the president for govern according to the law. At the same time, we say for also respect the law. If we ask the president for respect the law, we say for respect the law. So the government really now, and they only say it good for make for now we try to rid corruption in the country, but please don't use other reasons, political reprisals, tribalism, ethnicity, regionalism, or just because you want to scatter APC as you reason or you make allegations against certain people. Secondly, you know, try to make this process fair and transparent. No secrecy in a bad thing for democracy. When you try to make everything secret and you go after people and secretly, everybody they doubt the good faith basis of your campaign. So not that much I get to say about that.
This is no secret that based on the recommendations of the transitional report, we now know, say, beginning the 1st of August, something which you've spoken about strongly, there has been a commission of inquiry that has been established, which will look into corrupt practices and other malpractices of the former APC government, of which you are a member. Do you have a problem with such a commission? And do you think that there is any legitimacy to this commission?
First of all, I do think there is legitimacy to the commission. The president certainly get the authority for establish a commission of inquiry under Chapter 9 of the Constitution. And I think it's a good thing for the country too, because you know, if we believe say certain improprieties don't happen when the previous government stay in power, I think it's only fair that some kind of inquiry or investigation happen, so that some people that they will not do nothing, will not take nothing, they go able for pull their head, come out and say, man, because nothing happened. The transition report they don't come put, it don't make sweeping allegations against so many people. Some people they really don't begin to explain, say, man, this thing they accuse me for, I really don't do it. Now so this thing happened, now so this thing happened. But you know, between you and the government no more, or you just explain on social media, most people don't even listen. They don't know say that this might happen. But if they set a commission, you get the chance to come present your side of the story in that good thing. So in that respect, the president get the power for he set up a commission.
All right.
What I have, the problem when we get to the commission, setting up the commission of inquiry, like I was saying on my audio, why is the president so quick to exclude rules of evidence from the commission of inquiry? That makes me suspicious as a lawyer. As you know, rules of evidence, now the tools that way we try and lawyers and they prove, say some people now lie man, some document and fake, some today you use false evidence so that you can implicate somebody, so you go kill them. Now in many civilized countries they establish their rules of evidence here. So I just give you a quick example. One big rule they will work on rules of evidence where most courts not tolerate. Hearsay. Hearsay, it simply means you can't make accusation against somebody for say
That money they ain't tifa. But you know you know see inside the person tip the money, you say na Amadu na tell me. So now go send the man a prison pass until when you know was the other person I go tell you. Now this kind of thing, now the president try to put inside the instrument we establish the commission of inquiry. So me says they say, hey, no, if you try to take people the liberty now, so sometimes you want to send some people then go prison. As at the area, you determine for see some people then property, at least give them a chance to let them defend themselves. Let no be say some document they just go bring and come. We don't able to vet the document. We don't know if the document is authentic. We don't know who pull as authentic photocopy. And then as they bring the document, so they say, Amadu Kago, I signed that document. So that document they say it's equal $1 million. And then would accept the document as true. And then would go take the money property. No, that is not right. Now that is not a due process. That one.
Absolutely, absolutely. For those of you that are just joining the channel, we are speaking to Barrister Bakarr Sidique Kalokoh. He's a senior member of the All People's Congress. He's also a senior member of the Sierra Leonean Bar Association. I've just received 1 or 2 messages that will keep the interview nuanced. We should encourage questions from the audience. Well, of course, audience, we are happy to get questions. I've discussed this prior to the interview with the interviewee, that anybody who is interested in asking questions should do so. And if you've got questions now, to which the interviewee has agreed that if there are questions from the general public, they can pose the questions. So to all of you in the chat room and those of you watching wherever in the world, if you do have a question for Lawyer Kalokoh, feel free to call the channel, or you can make the posting in the chat room. I will read out the question. You can equally call on the forum, and your question will be entertained, and hopefully Lawyer Kalokoh, who is monitoring the interview directly, will be able to hear the question and respond in kind. So the lines are open, by the way. Feel free anytime to interject, to ask your question, even when I'm flowing with a question, because this has been agreed with the interviewee, okay? And the number to call is 077-4010-7250. I will pretty soon make a posting on the chat room, here to highlight the number that you can call. If you're calling from outside of the United Kingdom, don't forget the country code. It's 44, you omit the 0, 7740107250. We're looking forward to your calls. Please ask the questions. As I said from the beginning, this might change our perspective. This might change the way we argue. This might provide an insight for us, because we are talking to no ordinary Sierra Leonean, but in the person of APC heavyweight, a former flag bearer, chief candidate, etc. So we've got the first caller on the line. Welcome to the program, and I'm sure you want to make a contribution or ask a question to the interviewee. Will you first of all identify yourself, and then you've got the floor, please?
Okay, thank you for having me. This is Superman, and I want to ask a question to the interviewer, please.
Yes.
And my question is...
1 minute, please, Superman. Thank you so much. I didn't hear any complaint from you in terms of the authenticity of the program. In other words, there are no technical problems. Everything is going smoothly. Is that correct, sir?
Everything is going smoothly. I'm getting the interview quite clearly. Everything is smooth with you.
Thank you very much. Question, please.
And my question is, since I want to ask Lawyer Kalokoh, since all the information we got about the violence, intimidation, and even killing of people, is it not a good idea for the government to institute a commission of inquiry led by a judge to look at the post-election violence in the country?
Mr. Kamara?
Yes, sir.
Can I pause you there? Because with the second part of it is that we're using WhatsApp, and I'm sure because of your call, we will have lost the interviewee. So stay on the line. I'm going to see whether I'm able to get in touch with him so that he can hear your direct question. And to Mr. Dumbuya, I have just seen your, I haven't seen the question, but I noticed that you've mentioned that your question is in the chat room, which I will go to very soon. Or if you can repeat that, because there are so many people there, I'll be happy to post that to Lawyer Kalokoh. Brother Mohammed, if you can hold the line while I try to call Mr. Lawyer Kalokoh directly, please.
Okay, then that's fine. Thank you.
No worries. My pleasure, my brother. 001 Med.
Yeah.
Can you call back in 1 minute, please? I want you to disengage. No, stay on the line. Stay on the line. Stay on the line.
Okay.
What's going on here? Ladies and gentlemen, we're just trying to maintain contact. We've got a few callers. We've got a caller on the line, but I want to make sure that the interviewee gets the question directly from the caller. I don't want any third party. So I am kind of having a struggle because I've got 2 other callers on hold. So I might have to lose every one of them as my gadgets cannot permit me to do that. Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Will you disengage and call back in 1 minute, please, okay?
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry about that. The system gets a little bit sophisticated, and even myself, I'm being humble, I cannot handle it. But here we are, and let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to maintain contact with, no, this is not it. Supermed, I know you're watching. Hold the line, please. And as soon as we maintain contact with Lawyer Kalokoh via direct line, and then we can carry on from there. That's another caller coming in. That caller will have to wait. There's another call coming in. Hello, caller. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, caller.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I'm just going to ask you. We've lost the interviewee, and I'm sure you want to contribute. I'm begging your pardon. Will you call back in a minute or 2, please? I'm just trying to maintain contact with the interviewee, and then you can call right back and make your contribution. Is that okay?
Okay, no problem at all. I'm looking forward to that.
No worries at all. Thank you. As soon as I maintain contact, please feel free to call right back.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is serious, and I'm loving this. By the way, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Let me just see if I can get hold of Lawyer Kalokoh. So suddenly there are so many callers. I was expecting this. 001. That's 240 472 4845 4845. Okay, let me see if I can maintain contact again with Lawyer Kalokoh, and then we can move on with this.
You can now reach your monthly credit limit. You can still use your inclusive allowances, but to make...
Oh dear. Why is it doing like this? Why? This is not my problem. This problem...
You've now reached your monthly credit limit. You can still use your inclusive allowances, but to make calls outside of your allowance, you'll need to make a payment. To make a payment now, press 1.
What the hell are you talking about?
Hello.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I'll ask you a favor quickly. Can you call me? You see me to get hard time. Can you call me on the normal line? Because we get few people that will ask questions, but because now on social media, every time we then call, they lost you, and I want to let you read the questions directly. So if you can call me on the direct line, sir.
Now call you on the normal line.
Yeah, the normal line. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my apologies for this, but we're going to maintain the contact and we're going to keep the flow. A brother, Usman, said that he posed this question earlier. I'm just going to go into the chat room and try to search for his question. I'm going to go into the chat room. Yep. Right, that's the one. Yeah, hello?
Yes.
Okay, you're back on the line, sir. Thank you very much. We just get a few callers.
Yeah.
We just get inundated with calls. There we go. The calls, then they come in straight away. So you're going to hear some of the questions so you can address them directly. So stay on the line, sir. Yes, Mr. Kamara, are you all right there?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you, my brother.
Yeah, what's your question, please?
So I want to say thank you very much to Mr. Kalokoh. I think it's been doing a fantastic interview. My question is, due to all the allegations of intimidation, harassment, and killing, would it not be advisable to the government to institute a commission of inquiry into the post-election violence? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Yeah, hello, caller. Will you state your name and where you're calling from, please?
Yeah, Mr. Kalokoh.
Yes, sir.
Yes, the line clear, and we want to follow up in the program.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and really interesting, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Another question for Kalokoh. Yeah, regarding what you don't say, you know, it's very objective now, somebody I admire.
Yeah.
Because
one minute, please. You say what are you
okay.
What are you name again, sir?
Paul Koroma.
Paul Koroma, are you watching the program concomitantly at the same time?
I'm watching live and direct, but I'm not close to the phone side of the website at the moment. Are they away from now?
Are you on speaker? Because there's some interference in the background. I don't know exactly, but definitely.
So do you get me clear now?
Yes, it sounds a little bit better. So this is Paul Koroma, and
what's
your question, sir? Or what's your question?
Yeah, I want to say thanks to Kalokoh to start with. You know, for the objective comments and we don't need towards the interview. You know, I admire so much. I mean, first time this for listening attentively to him, and in contribution them ready. A very good one there. But Kalokoh belonging at the APC. We only comment saying a lot of things that we don't go on. We are again at the discuss about executive orders and when the current government in the past. Yeah. And a lot of things that we don't go on. We are Kalokoh belonging at this APC. We don't go in the area. We I think there's a lot of corruption that they go on. We never area they come out and give statements. And secondly again, the Kalokoh be there within the system. We then start the vice president. We all know that. So I want to know what make Kalokoh then send that they not been come out and give statements when we all surveil because now the way the comments now is very good. It's an artist they don't do before already, especially if they don't have power. I believe we're not for on to this position only because for that thing as we're going through APC guys then when we decide for left the party because of what we don't do. People are not being able to speak. Then we let everything collect and direct them all. So that's made, as you always say, we get different people in the APC way and we please. So which are the Kalokoh be doing and they will not be the area. And that's my question.
All right, Paul Koroma, first time caller on the program then and now. I want to say thank you very much. I want to say special thanks, you know, for being a first time participant and able to take up the phone and call and question. Thank you so much. I will pose your question to Kalokoh. Thank you.
No worries at all. Thank you.
All right, sir. Kalokoh, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Obviously, there are a few questions for you. The first question was from a gentleman called Mohammed Kamara. He wants to say thank you so much because you seem for the address issues way of some serious concern to them, and you seem for the address them very well. But in the issue or things that we'll talk about or where we go on, we talk about earlier on, allegations of intimidation, post-election violence. In the ask, how do you see or whether you will go along with a commission of inquiry being organized? Because these are citizens, they are being brutalized, intimidated, in some cases, loss of life. What about a commission of inquiry?
Well, that's the one aspect with me think a commission of inquiry, well, I don't think it's necessary because
I am thinking it's a way to slow down criminal investigation, criminal activity. If I had to make a choice, I would foresee the president and his team need to take action for empower the police for let them swiftly investigate violence, especially political violence against people. Then anytime they investigate somebody do this kind of thing and then get enough evidence for say the person not get reason for result to that kind of violence and for charge and so forth swiftly. A commission of inquiry will only waste some time while people then they try for hide or dogs or things. Then I think the police will be able to act swiftly.
All right, Mr. Kamara, I'm sure you're listening. Your question that you posed to Lawyer Kalokoh has just been addressed, and I hope that probably not satisfy you, but that answers the question. There was another question, Mr. Lawyer Kalokoh, which came from a gentleman called Paul Koroma, who was a first-time contributor to this program. He wanted to say thanks, and he really appreciates you coming on this program and the way how you go about to answer the question there. He really, really deeply appreciates it. And he feels your commentary is very, very objective, okay? But they say you were once in the APC, and there were plenty of questions to ask in the APC because what the SLPP stand accused of today, if probably not all, but most, was also a situation in the then APC government. Where were people like you, according to him, especially when the government sacked the then vice president, when there been serious constitutional issue? Why you not been commenting then, and why are you commenting now?
Well, like I just say, first of all, probably a lot of people never pay attention to some things like the case that I used to speak of. And just because at that time we were a little less powerful, so the people would not really, even if I speak up on issues where they happen. But regarding the issue of former Vice President Samsuana, I mean, I want us to wait for the not so popular view with other people they hold. The brother Samsuana in problem was not so much the sacking. I think the problem was more political. Unfortunately, most people don't agree with me, but I do think I want us to agree with the decision of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, I think, arrived at the correct interpretation of the provision under which they sack, and I will tell you why.
Yes, please do.
If they elect a president and a vice president, they belong to one political party. And in the process of governing, one of them is for being a member of the party under which they elected. Do you really, as a citizen, expect those two people here to for them they will govern the country without gridlock or friction? If those people here to not get along, the president and the vice president, I would say at the time, Samsuana belongs to the same party where Aresoma belongs. While Aresoma wants to hold cabinet meetings, and Samsuana not belong to the APC anymore, but they get to sit in on cabinet meetings, so they get to study everything what they talk about. Right? You expect governing the country beyond that point, not before don't become chaos. So the Supreme Court, they be left them with a very difficult choice. They have to interpret the Constitution in a manner where they avoid a manifest absurdity. And that's now one of the situations where we lawyers they actually describe as a manifest absurdity. The president and the vice president can't belong to two different political parties and you expect them to belong to the same cabinet. It does not make sense. I think the problem was so much the people that will frame the Constitution did not leave room to address that issue, or they failed to address because they did not foresee it. Unfortunately, it happened. Politically, if I have to make a comment about this thing politically, I would say, it was not politically prudent for the APC to remove Samsuana from the APC at that time, because actually that brings about a constitutional crisis, and we mean that some of them here to be called a self-inflicted wound. That did not have to happen. We did not have to create a constitutional crisis. Unfortunately, we did. And now we just create a commission. That's as much as I would say. So actually, that was not a good political move from me or party. Let me comment that about that.
All right, Mr. Paul Koroma, you heard it directly from Lawyer Kalokoh. I mean, this is not a legal mind, and you look at from a legal perspective. So, Lawyer Kalokoh, that was a necessary evil, sir, if we will say, and that has happened, and we need to move on. Okay, there's another caller on the line. If you go hold the line, sir.
Yes.
Hello, caller. Will you state your name, where you're calling from, and what's your contribution, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Prince. I am Victor Spain, calling from UK.
Yes,
and I have a few questions for Mr. Kalokoh. But first of all, let me take my time to say thank you, Mr. Kalokoh, for coming to our program, the then and now. So I'm going to be straightforward to the question. Is it a violation to stay in public office in Sierra Leone while vying to be a parliamentarian?
Stay in public office?
Yes.
While
vying to be a parliamentarian in Sierra Leone. Is it a violation of our constitution to stay in public office while vying to be a parliamentarian in Sierra Leone? If that is the case, the 68 people who were unconstitutionally barred during the time when they elect the Speaker of the House, it contributes to the trouble we see during that time. So I want Mr. Kalokoh to explain to me if there is a violation, because the allegation at the time should say them people here did collect taxpayers' money. They did an office, they have relinquish their positions there while in the time of the parliamentarian. Can Mr. Kalokoh please clarify this for us, because we don't know where we stand on the constitution to this issue. Thank you very much, sir.
Victor, stay on the line 1 minute, please. Let me see Dr. Kalokoh, if Lawyer Kalokoh heard this directly. Lawyer Kalokoh? Hello, sir?
Yes.
Did you manage to hear the question from the last caller?
I'm not hearing the question. So
okay, let's see if I will go over because it was quite a little bit technical, but I think in bottom line is it necessary, that is from a legal standpoint of view, that people that are in public office or people can stay in public office, in other words, they are receiving payment from the consolidated fund, from taxpayer money, and at the same time vying to become members of parliament? I think that was his question, basically.
Well, from my understanding of the position about that one day, if you receive money from the consolidated fund, you quit the job at least a year before you contest for parliament. And I think the wisdom behind that one day is clear. We are here. If you are about for election with somebody where they receive money from the consolidated revenue fund, when you spend your private money, if they get government money, I mean, the contest is not fair. Now, to just promote fairness, so that everybody could in a level playing field. I think that the whole idea nowadays, and I subscribe to that view, in all fairness. I think that would start with it.
All right, stand by 1 minute, please. Just stay right there where you are. Mr. Spain? Mr. Spain?
Yes, sir.
Did you manage to hear the answer? Did that satisfy your line of inquiry?
I didn't hear anything, sir. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, okay. I think you tried to answer that in terms of this public office thing, whether a person can stay in public office, they receive taxpayer money, and then they try to apply for being a parliamentarian. Probably when you listen to the playback, maybe that will address that. Do you have any other further question?
Yeah, well, obviously, if that can be the case, because we talk about unconstitutionality, that will say the government be also unconstitutional. So it's very hypocritical of our public to condemn this particular government. I'm wondering if it's a very small, but unfortunately, I'm not able to get your response.
Okay, no worries. I will pass on the question and maybe hopefully we'll deal with that. So, I mean, they talk about issues of constitutionality and it sounds like.
What you say, sir? Because I didn't get you. What
you answer the question, say?
I answer the question. It's like violation.
Well, yes, it thinks in a violation. It thinks in a violation, and it sounds like it's in line with you because you understand.
Yes, so that means that contribute to the trouble.
Okay, no worries, Victor. Let me just answer this caller, and thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you.
No worries. Yes, caller, will you state your name and where you're calling from, please?
Right, this is Bagay Masway. I'm calling from North London.
Mr. Mansari, hearty and warm welcome to the program. What contribution would you like to make? We've got Lawyer Kalokoh, suppose you know, on the line.
Very good program, Lawyer Kalokoh. Welcome in London's program with you now. Of course, Lawyer Kalokoh not to stranger to it, and it's a very good program where I believe you don't contribute so much, not only to the APC, but the nation as well as Sierra Leone. But one thing we are concerned about is now there are plenty things that we go on, of course, with the everybody talk, try for, they always talk because of the APC, they talk generally because there is an abuse of the constitution. We really happen. There's an abuse. Of course, I want to go back to what we around the scope state where the previous government we don't do so things. I don't want to go back to that, but there is a persistent abuse going on here where they affect the people of the country, right? And Kalokoh is one of the guys that are there standing out, telling the administration that this is going wrong, and then you guys stop this. However, if we go back to our party, which is the APC party, now the APC party is in target of the present administration, waiting that they put in place as a senior member, senior comrade. When they get in place for stop this violence, the people left, when they're on the ground. We are not on the ground. You are not on the ground. Kalokoh is not on the ground. I'm not on the ground. But the people that were the lay people and the local people there, and they suffer. Some of them not even know free talk, but they suffer. Why are they suffering? Is it because of us? Why are they suffering? Some of them don't even know that state housing, but they suffer because they belong to a party where they believe. And the next thing is this 9-man committee, when these guys are going to give us, what, of course, we know where things don't go wrong. But the 9-man committee would have asked for me to form this 9-man committee. Apart from that one day, you look at waiting country, okay, everything there right now, opposition, and they are a majority in parliament, where they make the laws of the country. There are plenty of things where the intensity, where they are supposed to repel, like it's a seal. Like we got a logo, how they expect for people now, what did they go on with the put in place? You know, of course, people are still on the same status quo. Okay. We don't need yes, we need a place, ground.
All right, Mr. Mansari, I will pass on your question. If you can call back, I just want to make progress. I'm going to pose your concern and questions to Lawyer Kalokoh, and maybe you can call again. You can make a second round into the program, but let me just cut him so I don't keep him waiting for long.
All right, I'll call back.
Thank you so much for your contributions, sir. Thank you.
No.
Hello, Lawyer Kalokoh. Hello. Hello, Lawyer Kalokoh. Hello.
Yes. Yes, okay.
I'm so sorry for keeping you that long. Now you spark this program so we get so many calls, but normally you can privy to the call, but the connection where we make, so you know they get for your waiting order the contribution with other people and they make. But there are a few questions. I will pose those questions to you from members of the public, and then we can make progress. But just before I pose the question in this, Mr. Usman Dumbuya, you posed, according to you, you posed a question. You posed a question earlier on, Mr. Dumbuya, don't look for on the chat room and not happen for Siam. But I will be happy if you can repost that question, because I sure say that's a significant question that needs to be answered, so I can pose the question to Lawyer Kalokoh so he will address it. So Mr. Dumbuya, if you are listening, will you be kind enough to repost the question, please? Thank you. Lawyer Kalokoh, the last man we call, also want to congratulate you for coming on the channel and say very much thank you. Sound very much like a comrade. But if you want to know, waiting get for happen for put a stop to the violence where they happen in the country, where mostly according to Rand they affect people that will belong to him party, which is the APC people. Okay? And then you want also know about a 9-man committee. We don't know about this 9-man committee, probably you are aware. Who formed it? Who asked for it? Those were the questions of the last caller. Will you want to address those, please?
So I think the first question where he asked is, what can get to happen about the political violence? If I ever rephrase the question, so I understand properly.
That's correct.
I think like I said, remember when the president took over office, he set up a committee to look into the violence where he said he tried to make a bipartisan. Imagine it's been almost come up to the time now. I don't think that committee needs one time. That's the reason why they can say, I think the police, they need to really proceed really fast. Anytime they irritate some kind of political violence in place, they will slip in, they will investigate the case very fast, they will arrest whoever responsible. If they say anybody commits crime, they will charge that person in court without any consent. Committee or commission when they say violence is go on, they stop the violence. The way for them people to stop bad behavior and violent behavior is to hold them responsible under the law and to go away fast. I think the second thing about the 9-man committee, I think the existing leadership of the Constitutional Congress have set a 9-man committee to look into certain issues regarding the party. First of all, they want to know why the party lost the 2018 elections, and then they asked the 9-man committee to make recommendations regarding the way forward for the APC. Unfortunately, I don't know how far the committee will go with their work, but I think the time where they set for them to let them don't come up with a report, you don't exceed. You don't go far beyond the time when they be given to still receive a report. We don't know when would they expect to receive a report, but they look forward to a report, so then we understand. But two people that they say, we already know why we lost as a party, but anyway, that's an internal thing. We will be determined to go discuss nowadays within the party.
All right, thank you. Before I move on to the next segment, I just want to ask you this. Are you in touch with the former president, sir?
Now, first away, I don't know, so I don't be more speaking. So, aside from the politics that issues about.
So, this borders into my next question, which is, quite recently, sir, you came out in a scathing attack strongly against the ruling SLPP government and the head of state, particularly the head of state. Was this in concert, or was this something that you and ex-President Nkrumah discussed? Were you doing it in his favor?
No, not at all. So people who know me, and I think President Nkrumah is one of them. People who know me for being a very independent person. When I hold opinions, by independent. To the extent that I'm wrong, I will readjust the opinions, but no, not at all. Everything I say, every comment I make, not get anything to do with the Nkrumah or the leadership of the All People's Congress. It's just my own independent view or assessment.
Well, most people that will listen to you will find this difficult, for understand, or if I can even go further for believe, because they only have to look at the lines, that you mentioned, or the words that you spoke. And this borders into my next question, which is, I want to call them a sudden outburst. Was it done out of love for country? Because again, you sound like you don't answer the question, which sounds like you do them out of love for country, but me go on for ask whether in a party or both, because we only need for look at your transcript and no say a lot of it, you know, yeah, you mentioned the All People's Congress. You did mention country, but a lot of it, you know, yeah, was sounded on behalf or in behalf of the All People's Congress. Would you say that categorization is correct?
Well, you know, remember, you know, we will belong to the All People's Congress. We definitely so. So just because I mentioned saying a member of the All People's Congress, no means if I say something, that means I only see them because I belong to the APC. I mean, APC people also love Sierra Leone. So really, I don't think it's an APC thing for let somebody ask the president who is the set up commission of inquiry for make sure the commission of inquiry is fair, is transparent, is non-tribal, is non-ethnic, and not a witch hunt. I don't think it's an APC thing. I'm just talking as a Sierra Leonean. Of course, being a proud member of the All People's Congress, and we did at the opposition, and me now one party will be with the opposed, but are very constructive in the opposition. Everything we say, Nami piece we have sent out, is also good for the president because in a Sierra Leone like a move. It is good for him in the long run. In the process of governing, don't expect everybody for two. Like if everybody just say yes to you, number one, that will make you a dictator. So then you don't intend to be a dictator. But then because we keep saying yes to everything you say, it makes you a dictator. Secondly, as a leader, when people constructively criticize you, it will help you for growth. It will help you for govern well. So in that respect, I am helping the president to govern well, and also every country, when once they don't elect you as president, the easiest way for you to succeed is not to be partisan or extreme. You should not go to the extreme left or the extreme right. You govern from the center. When you govern from the center, everybody will be happy because you are part of the nation. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, it sounds like you've really provided leadership in terms of the opposition, where leadership was lacking because the APC appear very much like they're on the back foot, and you have provided some form of leadership because we are not hearing, you know, from others, or if we hear from them. In fact, their voices are muffled. Whereas you've come on the national platform or international platform, if I will say, and you've been able, you know, to make this scathing attack. So the ex-president absolutely will be very comfortable, very pleased that somebody to talk very strongly in terms of in government, and it's good for no say on a day in touch, and both the party members as well. But this sudden outburst again, Lawyer Kalokoh, was it done out of love for country? I'm not saying you try for address and just now, and they try for pushing. Was it done out of love of country or party, or would you say both? And if it's both, which one comes first?
It's actually out of, more than anything else, it's out of love for country. Because I think we Democrats are pretty young. People like us, and you know, people that really think this is in a similar way when they think need for healthy democracy for growth. And one way we help the democracy for growth, now for always point out missteps and wrong things with the leadership they do. If and when they do them things, then they try for correctness. You know, rule of law in every democracy, rule of law is supreme. Therefore, they remember that any action we take, try to be fair and even-handed. I think that is a very helpful thing for the country. At the same time, we also try to admonish the leader of the country now, let in office in a leader of in party only. Even we not within the All People's Congress, President Bio and we president. But you know, if we know grab one step or not, we might say, we you said that we president. Perhaps we will forget, and we will always look at we with only one eye, and the eye where the TV is opposition. You know the TV as Sierra Leone, and we want to make TV stop as Sierra Leone before the TV as opposition. Perhaps that will change the view we get about the All People's Congress. Because I think the APC is a great institution.
Well, let's deal with whether President Biogo look kindly into that, because the way you put them really nicely, then for attract the president in attention, because once we become constructively critical, then of course we are also helping, you know, in terms of good governance. But let's look at your recent scathing attack in details. We begin with the SLPP government, Commission of Inquiry, the constitutional instrument which you rightfully describe as such, that the setting up of that particular Commission of Inquiry, where they publish on the 1st of August, I believe, where we look into the activities of the All People's Congress. You appear for applaud the president, that is retired Brigadier His Excellency Julius Maada Bio, and his team, where you continue for throughout this interview for moving along and making steady progress in the fight against corruption. Now the homeland, you call on the homeland, very powerful statement. You seemingly appear to contrast this view, expressing serious disagreement with the approach. We see this as contradictions. Do you disagree, sir?
Well,
you go ahead and answer, just the answer I call. And I go, yeah, continue, sir, please.
Okay.
Okay. Can you call back in 2 minutes, please? 2 minutes, okay?
People culpable or liable under the commission of inquiry, right? Remember, for the commission, you have to give people the what more carefully. Waiting, saying that the instrument we publish, commissions of inquiry, then they pretty much analogous jurisdiction with the High Court of Sierra Leone. So if for any reason the commission finds you liable, not the commission give any order for the banning or hold the public office, or they for seize the property, or they for increase the new or anything like that, they have the power to do that. Commission can do that. The thing is, where do you go? Suppose the turn out the evidence will they use for the commission to find liable, and evidence will not document to apply. So therefore, we are not able to question the authenticity or the veracity or the truth basis of that document here too. How we going to challenge them if we not put that document here too under very strict scrutiny? We don't want to let the commission of inquiry when are also here to no more. The commission they use here to for the account bank for life from all the public office and your country. Or for the recommend for the prosecution somebody for treason where the evidence they use and evidence we don't pull water at all. Documents that they bring can fake document. And we did not have to challenge the document and now all of us are getting to the commission don't bring very, very difficult recommendations. They don't take them for granted. Then they remember that the issue of national issue where they affect us not only the person, but they affect families and generations. So before you do something like that, now to make sure that the evidence we get for you now solid cast iron evidence. Now that's why they are disagreeing with the president. Say, okay, Mr. President, this is number one. The fact that you put the instrument for say rules of evidence not to apply, you exceed the authority because section 150 of the Constitution, it makes a very clear say you agree, you know, protect of the Commission of Inquiry, and then you set the rule for practicing on the Commission of Inquiry. You're being set and doing, and that's not fair. You cannot set up the commission and you set the rules at the same time. So what is you don't want that and you really for let them convict other people? No.
You cannot make the process fair. The framers of the Constitution, in their wisdom, they did not suspect this kind of thing may happen. When somebody is so bent on catching other people, or if you want to bring revenge on other people, if they make sure that the law, they not follow the law to the letter, if they exclude the law. Alright, so now you make the framers of the Constitution in their wisdom, they put section 150 for say, after the president set up the commission of inquiry, only the rules of court committee headed by the Chief Justice now they affect the rules under which will be practiced before commission of inquiry, not the president. So now in this case, they ask me, well, why is the president trying to say, why are you excluding rules of evidence when you know you don't have that authority? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to circumvent the thing? Are you trying to go very fast? What is the urgency? You're trying to take people's property or convict them or ban them by speed? I mean, these are very serious issues. If these are serious issues, I expect you to be fair and even-handed. And that's what I'm trying to hold you to. You know, you get for promote justice, and the justice, you not only get for program as president, you get for actually see you do one. If you not do one, then of course, they get for bring this to accountable. For saying, no, this is now a democracy. The Constitution, I said the rules how you govern. You cannot govern outside the Constitution. If you go outside the Constitution, we remind you. For saying, Mr. President, this particular time we don't go to, not to you get the power or do that. How will they practice before this commission? The only power of the Constitution you that protect the commission. You know they tell me how we for practice before the commission. That's not your power. Then section 150, go back to the Chief Justice.
All right. So that's a good clarification there. But I'm gonna press on again there, and I'm gonna try to see whether I can quote you directly. You declare, sir, and I quote, I'm sure by the time this exercise ends, that when you talk about this entire committee